CJ Stroud, you mentioned him. So Browns at Texans, Cleveland, a 2.5 point road favorite, -110 actually at some shops. So we are seeing a little bit of movement towards the Texans, not necessarily dipping in the spread, but juice wise at least. Total of 44.5. That total is up from 43.5, where it was at earlier in the week. If you go back to when these two teams squared off in week 16, line closed Cleveland -3. Browns win by double figures. Amari Cooper breaking the Browns single game receiving yardage record with 265, just obliterating that Texans secondary. And if you look at how the Texans cornerbacks matched up on Cooper, Steven Nelson allowed 2 receptions on 3 targets for 29 yards and 97.9 passer rating. Derek Stingley, the second year first-round cornerback, 4 targets, 3 catches, 43 yards, a touchdown allowed, along with a pick and a 109.4 passer rating. Also, key injury news on the Texans defensive front. Will Anderson didn't play in that Week 16 game. He has yet to practice this week as of Wednesday. We're recording this a bit earlier on Thursday. And sack leader for the Texans, Jonathan Grenard, didn't practice on Wednesday either. But there is a positive notion from Texans beat reporters that both were around in practice on Wednesday and they could end up suiting up. If they don't, you have to wonder how much the Browns' backup tackles really matter in this game. And Texans struggle to get pressure on Flacco without Will Anderson on the field in that Week 16 matchup. From Week 9 onward, too, Texans ranked number 21 in EPA per dropback allowed. And some of those matchups included Russell Wilson, Zach Wilson. Texans lost by 20-plus points at the Jets. Will Levis twice, Joe Flacco, and Gardner Minshew. So big mismatch for this Browns offense and Joe Flacco, a veteran quarterback, going up against an inexperienced quarterback. And by the way, I want to go back to that trend. The first-year playoff starts coming against quarterbacks that have experience, so keep that in mind when I mention those numbers. But it's Flacco against Stroud, and if the Texans don't have their 2 key players on the defensive line, it's going to be difficult for Houston to cover this game, right?
Yeah, that's definitely in my notes. Also, Jerry Hughes, probably more of a situational pass rusher at this point in his career, but, big-time sack artist in his day. Has had a great career, mostly for the Bills. Yeah, he has not practiced as well, so a lot of injuries there to monitor. On the other hand, you have Amari Cooper, who has not practiced as well, so that's obviously massive. I mean, you already talked about the line he put up last time, but just in general, I mean, he's just been really great for them pretty much all year, but seems to have especially hit a new level of chemistry with Joe Flacco. So I'm interested in the Texans still, but it doesn't look like a 3 is coming. Obviously, some concerning injuries in their playmaking as well. You definitely do not want to be running out John Mechie and something Xavier Hutchinson at receiver. Not a good situation to be in. So we'll see how Noah Brown and Robert Woods end up going. I believe Woods did end up logging a practice. Noah Brown, I don't think so. I'm guessing he's out. But yeah, Grenard is a very important piece for sure. Coaching as well is also in my notes here. A lot of hate towards the Texans offensive staff in NFL podcast verse this week. All those shows I listen to, just everyone furious that they are just plunging into a cloud of dust multiple times. I believe something like 40 yards they produced on all their first down runs against the Colts or something. So pretty rough situation there. Hopefully they're looking at the tape. Hopefully they understand what this Browns defense is. And no matter what they do, they're going to have to just ride CJ Stroud, win, lose, or I guess you can't draw. But, it's just win-win. Either you win the game and CJ Stroud gets a big W, or you take a loss and it's still his rookie year and he learns from it and gets a lot better. So, they just need to just make CJ Stroud the focus and this passing game and try to hit this Browns defense where teams have accumulated some big passing yards at times on them. The Rams, can't recall if the Ravens did or not. I think that was mostly just
Chunk plays
surviving
on the
off
ground.
turnovers as well in the first game for sure. But, the Colts obviously had that huge game against them. So some of these indoor games, they have been beaten up by opposing passing games. So I think that bodes a little bit well for the Texans here as well. Definitely an interesting matchup, and one where I do like the Texans at 3. I just don't really see that happening at this point. Like you said, the way the market has been moving, it is looking like they're expecting some points, though, which I think I agree with. I was leaning to the over when I initially looked this one over.
Yeah, and the market with you on that number too, up above the key number of 44 when it comes to totals. You mentioned Stroud. So looking at Stroud against man coverage defenses, or in the Browns case, they play a mix of cover one, second most cover one rate in the NFL, and fourth most man coverage rate, around 36%. And Stroud against man coverage this season among 39 qualified quarterbacks ranks 22nd in completion percentage, right around 52%, 52, 53%, 38th in EPA per dropback of 39 quarterbacks, and a touchdown rate of 3.4%, and his touchdown rate overall this year, 4.6. So it dips quite a bit when you look at how he performs against man coverage. Grant Delpit potentially back at safety this week for the Browns. I mentioned on the Monday edition to beat the closing number, I may be looking at a Texans teaser leg. I think I'm going to stay away from this game completely, especially with the market shifting above the key number of 44 when it comes to the total.
Yeah, Delpit back would certainly be nice. Big Grant Delpit fan, have been since his days at LSU. Yeah, I'm still concerned about this Browns offense, though. I don't really believe in Flacco because the metrics don't believe in Flacco. So I watched the last game they played against the Texans, and I thought he made multiple incredible throws. I just question how repeatable that is.
It may be repeatable against this secondary. We'll see if Houston winds up shadowing Cooper, and we'll see how effective Cooper is too. Or you can go with a safety over the top and try to put Stingley on one of the other Browns receivers just to try to make Cooper beat you off of double teams and force Flacco into more mistakes. We'll see how D'Amico Ryans and the Texan staff winds up playing it. You mentioned some of those first down runs against Indianapolis. Maybe the Texans staff, when it came to film, was looking at the Colts run defense without Grover Stewart, because clearly that defensive front is much different with and without Stewart in the lineup. But it sounds like no play for both of us with this Browns and Texans game.